Today we're going to be taking a look at the best base plates available for the 2014 Honda CRV. Now essentially a base plate is going to provide a connection point between your RV or motorhome and the vehicle you like to tow behind it. These are designed to connect to the frame and then provide attachment points for our tow bar that we can safely travel down the road and we won't have to worry about the vehicle behind us. Now we're going to be taking a look at 4 of them today. First is going to be from Roadmaster, part number RM-521567-5. That's the Easy 5 style. Also we have one from Demco. That part number is DM9519328. Then from Blue Ox, part number BX2258. And finally, another one from Roadmaster with a different connection point style. That part number is RM-521567-4. That's the Easy 4 style. Now all the base plates we're looking at today are what they call a removable arm style. Essentially what that means, when not in use, just like here, we're able to either pull a spring pin or remove a pin. That allows us to completely remove the attachment point to offer a more clean look. Now overall, between the Roadmaster, Demco, and Blue Ox, the Easy 5 and the Easy 4 are going to give you the most subtle look. So those are going to be the least noticeable when you have them on the front of your vehicle when they're not in use. Of course, when they are in use, your arms are going to be sticking out there. You'll have a tow bar attached, so really not a big deal at that point. Now depending on the base plate, like on our Roadmaster, our Blue Ox here, and the Roadmaster Easy 4, we're going to have a wiring attachment point. Essentially this allows us to attach either our 4-pole, 6-pole, whatever type of wiring we want on the front of that. Gives us a very easy and convenient attachment point. The Blue Ox, you can see, this is going to stick out the furthest. This is going to make it as easy as possible to attach to when you're trying to plug in your wiring. On both Roadmasters, it's going to be a little bit more recessed. So again, that Roadmaster is going to offer a nicer, more clean look. With the Blue Ox, it's going to be more readily accessible. You can see here on the Demco, it's got a tab welded on with a pre-drilled hole. This is for attaching a breakaway switch. Typically in any state that you're going to be hauling a towed vehicle behind your RV, you're going to need some form of braking system, and most oftentimes those are going to have breakaway switches. So the Demco gives us an attachment point for that. On both Roadmasters and the Blue Ox, you'll have to add that. Generally we do that with one of our universal short or long brackets, just depending on where you want to mount it and how far you need that to stick out. Here's a good look at one of the Roadmasters. Again, this is the Easy 4, the Easy 5 is going to look just the same. And you can see how everything's kind of tucked back in there nicely and more hidden than what we get out of the Demco or out of the Blue Ox. And here you can see where our wiring connector is. It's a little bit further. Our license plate would be about right here. Whereas with that Blue Ox, it's going to come out just a little bit further. Now, safety chain connection points are also going to be important in your flat tow setup. You want to be able to connect your vehicle to your coach in case one of your components fail. We found the Blue Ox here. It's going to come out a little bit further. You can see the attachment point there. Same can be said for the Demco. It has the attachment point located here, so those are going to be pretty easy to get to, but kind of running along the same line of look quality. They're going to be tucked a little bit further back, a little bit further under the vehicle, so while they are a little more difficult to attach to, they don't change the overall look of your vehicle as much as the Blue Ox or the Demco. Now the Easy 5, the Demco, and the Blue Ox are all going to be a direct connect style base plate, so our tow bar is going to connect directly to our removable arms. Generally, if you have a Blue Ox tow bar, the Blue Ox base plate is going to be the easiest to connect. There are adapters available, so you can use a Roadmaster with a Blue Ox or Blue Ox with a Roadmaster, kind of switch them up that way. But generally, so you don't have to buy additional adapters and things, it's good just to get one that matches up with what you've already got. If you don't already have it, you can just buy the kit and make sure everything's going to fit together. With the Easy 4, it has a little bit different attachment style. It's what they call more of a crossbar connect style. We've got it set up here on our CRV. Now some of the drawbars are going to have this. This is basically going to be a plate that you connect. You've got a pin here on the top. and it just adds kind of an extra step in connecting. That's why, while the EZ4 is a very good base plate system that works really well, this additional step is something we can save with one of the other units. Now at that point, of course, we'd be able to pull our pin, and that whole thing's going to remove, so we're not left with that on our vehicle all the time, but again, it just adds an extra step. Now, one difference that we have on the Demco tow bar versus both Roadmasters or the Blue Ox is that this pin that holds the removable arm in place is not attached to the removable arm. So most of the time you'll keep track of everything really well. You won't have to worry about losing it, but that can be one component. Without this, your tow bar is not going to really work. You know, you want this to go in there, you have to replace that pin. Whereas when you look at the Blue Ox or either of the Roadmasters, it has more of a spring pin, so that's going to stay attached. You're not going to have to worry about misplacing it. Now, as far as the installation process and which is better than the other, to be honest with you, they're all just about equal. You're going to have to, for any one of them, you're going to have to remove that front fascia from the vehicle. You have to make some small modifications. There's going to be a little difference here and there with how they attach, but overall it's going to be about the same amount of work for you. Now let's kind of sum up what we've talked about. I think the most important thing for most customers is how is it going to look on the front of my vehicle day to day as I'm driving down the road, not in use. And for that, I like either of the Roadmasters. Everything's tucked back in a little bit further, everything sits back in a little bit nicer, so it's going to be much less noticeable. Now, as far as connecting the tow bar to the base plate goes, I like the direct connect style. It's going to save us that step of getting that crossbar installed initially and then put on each time thereafter. Now, when it comes to the other connections we're going to need to make, like our breakaway switch and our wiring, I think the Blue Ox is going to be easier. The safety chain connection points are a little bit further out. You're going to be able to get a hold of them without bending over quite as much. And the same with the wiring. It's going to stick out a little bit further, so it'll be a little bit easier to plug in. Now, of course, this one doesn't have your breakaway switch attachment point, but even though the Demco does, you'll have to add a bracket for wiring there. So it's kind of a wash as far as each one of them is going to need a bracket to attach something to. That's going to complete our look at the best base plates available for the Honda CRV.